Okay, all right. Who needs Post-it notes? That means you came in when I was outside, so you should have a stack of 5 Post-it notes. Who else did I miss? Other people? Okay.
Good afternoon. How's everyone? I'm so excited to see this room like this full. Part of the Lunchtime Leadership Series is, let me start over. I wasn't here last week. My name is Chris, and I am a graduate assistant in the Center for Leadership and Civic Engagement, and I manage our Certified Student Leader program and also plan, coordinate, assess, do this Lunchtime Workshop Series. I'm usually here every time, but I had class last week because I'm also a graduate student, so I've got to manage class versus not being in class, all of those things. But luckily, it's an experiential class, so we only meet once a month, and the rest of the time is spent in the field. So I will be here for the rest of the times, and so you will get to see me all the time. But I'm so glad to see each of you at our Lunchtime Leadership Series this week. We have a classmate of mine, as well as a professional staff member, and I'm an academic advisor in track, Laura Foote, here to talk to you, but I'm just going to talk about a few announcements before we get started. First and foremost, you see the camera back there. We are implementing a new system where if students cannot attend, they can watch workshops online. It's a trial, so we're going to see how it works, see if people watch it, and see what happens. So that's why that is there. They cannot see you, they can only see Laura. So you don't have to worry about that. We also have passed around, and I'll need to do more satisfaction surveys. So we're just trying to obviously assess if you're learning, how you heard about it, what you would change, etc., etc. So leave us feedback. It's pretty short, but if you want to leave more comments, the back is blank, and so you can definitely do that for us. We make changes and constantly update things based off what people say on those surveys. And then lastly, we are having a loyalty system. So who was here last week? Wow. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So for those of you who were here last week have heard this, but we're implementing a loyalty system, and we have a punch card. So I'm going to give you all a punch card. Once you attend 5 or more sessions, we have cool gifts for each of you. So we just ordered these really, really nice aluminum water bottles that are green and beautiful and great. So once you reach 5 or more, you bring this card to me, and I give you a water bottle in return. So I'm going to pass these around. If you already have one, don't take another. If you lost yours, take this one, and if you don't have one, take it. We're going to punch them at the end. So make sure before you leave, April, who is sitting at the desk out here, has the hole punch. Make sure she punches your card before you leave. So you can gain credit for the experience that you're going through today. And then before Laura gets started, I have Vincent here. So Vincent is going to speak to you about one of the initiatives that we have in our office. So part of our leadership board is we have leadership consultants called Lead Fellows, and so he's going to talk to you a little bit about that today before Laura gets started. So thank you, Vincent.
Thank you. So like he said, my name is Vincent. I'm a second-year biomedical sciences student, so I'm a student just like all of you. I am part of Lead Fellows, which is an organization under the leadership board here in the Center for Leadership and Civic Engagement. And basically what we do is consult with different organizations on campus with literally whatever issues they may be facing. So in the past we've done consultations on things like diversity, recruitment, kind of just like team building. So I know we did our first consultation for the last semester was with Campus Rec, and we did something on team building with them because they had like a whole new staff, so we kind of got them all to come together and figure out how to work as a more cohesive group. So our role is not necessarily to sit here and tell organizations what they need to do to be better, but rather to facilitate a conversation with them and have kind of direct them and lead them into figuring this out on their own and talking about what works for them, what doesn't work for them. I know I personally did one with Zeta Tau Alpha on diversity, and it was a really, really effective consultation. So if any of you are interested in becoming a Lead Fellow, it sounds like something you might be really good at, or if you are part of an organization that could benefit from having us come in and help you, You can find all of our information on the Center for Leadership and Civic Engagement website. We'll be doing recruitment in March, so just look out for that application. Do you guys have any questions for me before I head out? Thank you for your time.
So one of the things that we really believe in is peers helping peers. So we're staff, and we have professional staff that really shape, mold, and develop, and really push to develop your leadership potential, but we love to see our students helping you do that. So sometimes it's easier to relate to students. Vincent is on the board, but he's also involved, so he knows what it's like to have to balance everything that comes with being a student leader. So they are always there to help you. If you visit our website, like he said, that's where you can fill out the consultation form. They'll contact you and they'll get you situated with everything that's available and that is going on. But great, so we're going to get started. Today we have a topic that I'm excited about because I've been thinking about having something like this for a long time, since I started here. And so Laura is, like I said, an academic advisor in track. And so in working with Laura, Laura has also had previous experience working in intentional leadership development at Kansas State. And so she has a lot of experience in this type of stuff. So Laura's going to be talking to you about emotional intelligence today. So I'm sure it's engaging and exciting, so I'm very excited. Thank you so much, Laura. And if anyone has to leave early for class or something, you can leave your surveys up here, and don't forget to get punched as you leave. So thank you very much.
Woohoo! Let's thank Chris for coordinating. I'm going to come back to this later when we actually get to it, and we'll zoom out to where we're starting today. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. It's hard to be asked to stand up in front of a group that you don't know. Katya was in my class last fall, and I pretty much emailed her and said, can you bring some people? Because what if there's no one? And I'm talking about emotional intelligence myself. So thank you for being here, and there's a lot of you, so I can't ask each of you all the many questions that I'd like to, but can a couple of you just share why you're here today? Maybe you're required, or you are a leader in an organization, so you come to these lunches. How many of you, is this your first time? Okay, awesome, great. So we've got some repeaters, a lot of people who are new. Why are you here, either for the topic or just for this leadership series? Yes?
Me and Amani were both OTLs for this coming summer, so we figured we might as well get ahead with leadership and emotional intelligence, because that's what we're learning in class. So.
Awesome, so new role that you're stepping into and you're already ready to learn. Great, Stephanie?
Yeah, I'm a grad student, so
Okay.
I'm just here to kind of brush up on my leadership skills. I'm also a part of the program.
Fantastic, wonderful. Love to see graduate students here. Any other graduate students in the room? Okay, awesome, Stephanie, continuing her learning on top of all that comes with grad school. Yeah, Natalie.
A lot of times in a professional setting and even working with peers, your downfall could be not being able to manage your emotions or stay composed if something goes wrong or not the way you plan. So I feel like this is a very important thing to help with that.
Wow, yeah, awesome. She's talking about managing your emotions, and if you've never heard that phrase before, you'll hopefully get a sense of it by the end of this discussion today. By way of using the language Natalie just used, I could make some inferences about her emotional intelligence individually, what she understands about herself and what she understands about the world around her. So that's great, thank you. Other reasons why you're here? Yes,
I
Deb.
have a leadership minor and I'm majoring in psychology.
Fantastic, so this is a great intersection. You probably have some expertise here you can help us learn. Wonderful. As part of the minor, do you have to come to this lunch? No, it's just a supplemental thing. Great. Any other compelling reasons that you're on a gross, cold, rainy Thursday that you chose to sit in this busy classroom? Pretty good sandwiches, right? Free lunch. That's very, it's awesome that they're feeding you. That's great. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah.
Liz.
I plan to join Peace Corps after I finish my bachelor's degree, and one of the things that they pretty much require you to have is leadership skills, which I know how to lead, but how can I say that I have any experience leading?
Sure, yeah. So Liz is talking about the Peace Corps experience, which also includes some different cultural contexts where emotional intelligence is sort of a language. So you might know how to speak your own emotional intelligence language, and you might know how to speak the language of the world that you're in most days. But what happens when the people, circumstances around you change? How do you learn to continue speaking that language there? And also just working on yourself, working on your leadership experiences and opportunities. This is all awesome. I think it's great that you're motivated to be here. I can tell you as a student that didn't go to a lot of things that I could have benefited from, stepping out and saying, hey, I'll go spend an hour over lunch in this space is wonderful, because you can network with each other, you can network with me, please network with me, and hopefully you'll take away something today that's new, right? I'm not going to probably blow your minds or give you some giant piece of information that you've never heard of before, but I hope that I can bring some new context to some things that are very basic, but honestly, most people don't do well, right? That's my goal for today. And so we're going to do everything from defining sort of what is emotional intelligence, looking at who's talking about this? Is this a thing? When Chris emailed me, I know it's a thing because I'm passionate about it. But when I talked to my mom back in Kansas about this, she has no clue what I'm talking about. She thinks I'm making up some new psychology world. No, this is a thing, and so we're going to talk about who's talking about it. We're going to talk about the workplace. So if you're a student right now and you don't have any kind of job, when we get to the workplace engagement part, I want you to think broad. I want you to think about student organizations you're a part of, classes that you are in, the communities where you spend your time, and what your engagement level is in those communities and why. Because there's a problem in the American workforce today with engagement, and it starts in kindergarten, and we're going to walk through that today. And so if you can look at where you are now, you're going to be able to make some changes so that when you get to a workplace, if you're not in one yet professionally, you can make some different decisions and you can have some different tools to manage the American workplace, which in itself, arguably, like I said, is broken. And then we're going to end with tools. So somebody said they had to leave like 15 minutes early, and I said, oh, you're going to miss the best part. And you might leave here feeling a little depressed because you're going to miss the toolbox part, but I am going to leave you equipped. So I want you to leave today feeling challenged, feeling ready with some very tangible ways that you can make this live for you and the communities that you're a part of. Okay? But the accountability is on you. Ask questions, stop me, and we'll keep going. Sound good? Is that what you expected a little bit for today for a roadmap? Okay, so what is this and why does it matter? Before I go there, I feel the need to just give you a little more context of me. Sorry if the pink on pink is hard to read. This is me, my husband, our rescue dog who's totally crazy, in front of our tiny house. We live in one of those 350 square foot, can't get away from each other houses in downtown Tampa. So when I talk to you about my emotional intelligence and my processing, a huge impact has been made on me in the last year living in a space so small that I physically cannot get away, right? I am an introvert on the MBTI spectrum, and so I need alone time. Sometimes eye contact at the end of the day is too much for me to handle. I literally need to not be looked at, touched, or talked to. Can you imagine how this goes over at 5 o'clock in a 350 square foot house with a crazy, crazy dog and a very outgoing professional actor husband? Because he's a professional actor. So do you think his energy level ever really comes down? A little bit. He's got more introvert in him than you would think. But it's important that you know my context, and I want you, though we can't have the full conversation today one-on-one, what's your context? Where do you live and why? What works about that space, what doesn't? Who knows you in that space, who doesn't? Where do you go to relax? Do you have a space away from your space that's yours, that you would consider a place where you're known, where you're comfortable? These are all things that are important as you consider your own emotional intelligence. I am inspired by this topic because I am committed to the first year experience of college students. So whatever age and year we have in this room, I appreciate it all. When I get to work with upperclassmen, I'm blown away by what you're capable of. And you are the reason that I stay in the first year, because great people are needed to help students move from high school to college. And I am not a great person, but I am willing to do the work. And I am willing to get in the trenches with those students when they're missing their parents, when they can't figure out how to do laundry, when they have no idea how to buy cereal and make it into a meal. These things happen with first-year students, and so that's the world that I live in. I advise for first-year students. I have a history of mentoring programs with first-year students, leadership programs, OTL experiences, all with the first-year student population. And their emotional intelligence looks really different, right? Huge change, leaving the context you've known for 18 years and going into something brand new. It challenges every bit of who you are, even if you know who you are and nothing changes. You know that, right? How many of you are beyond the first year of college? Okay, how many of you are in it? You are first year students right now. Yeah, this like diagonal right here, you know what I'm saying, right? You're like, yeah, winter break, that was crazy. My dynamic with my parents, different. Not used to a curfew. Okay, hello. I've been away for 6 months, I know what I'm doing. Or whatever your dynamic might be, but we've all been through it. So anyway, I'm committed to that. Dr. Tim Elmore is somebody I'm going to talk about today. He is an expert on Generation IY, the idea that if you were born after 1990, you were born into a world that had an automatic internet connection. And just by nature of being born into that kind of world, your world looks vastly different than even mine, somebody who was born in the late 80s. Hi there, welcome. I think there's a seat right here, or right here, at the table. Yes. So I'm going to talk to you about Dr. Elmore. He informs my work and practice every day. I read his books. I get his blog to my inbox. It's the first thing I read every morning. He wakes me up. He reminds me why I'm here. I am a photographer and performer by trade, but an academic advisor also by trade. Also in grad school, getting my master's in May. So the other piece of emotional intelligence is that I do not believe we should silo ourselves. I think people are better when they have a strong hobby, a strong external locus of control that has nothing to do with the work. When people say, well, you're getting your master's degree, so surely you want to do that for like 70 hours a week every day for the rest of your life. I'm like, no, that would be horrible, and I would quit in 1 year. Because the reason I'm doing the master's degree is because I'm a learner, right? I wanted to be more informed about the topic, and because I'd rather be the best that I can be in the role, but it doesn't mean the role is everything to me. So if you're sitting here today thinking, I'm a biomedical sciences major, but I am a trained cellist, and I still love to play, and I miss the orchestra experience, my challenge to you is going to be, get yourself back in an orchestra. Be a 40-year-old biochemist that plays in the orchestra for the local musical theater company on the weekends. Don't set it aside, don't sell your cello, don't stop playing, because you're supposed to be committed to biochemistry or biomedical sciences. You will be a better person for those things. And so that's one of my philosophies that comes forward today. I've been through a lot of personal hardships. So that's the final thing I want to leave you with. When I was a junior in college, every single thing that possibly could have happened pretty much happened to me. Car accident, death. My mom married a guy that was addicted to drugs that we discovered that abused her and then left, and a divorce followed. Everything that possibly could have happened in my world on a really bad, rainy, Alexander the Terrible, no good, very bad day, that was my junior year of college, okay? And as I'm going through this, okay, I didn't feel great, and I was sad. I knew I wasn't myself. My grades stayed up. My involvement stayed up. My friends who really knew me didn't go anywhere. So I got to the other end of that, and I'm like, what just happened? Because I knew a lot of people who would get strep throat and their world would come crashing down, right? Like I'm like, you have an antibiotic. Stay home for 2 days, eat chicken noodle soup, and we'll see you on Saturday. Like I don't understand why your world is ending because you have strep throat, or because you ruined a load of laundry in the dryer, or because you had a flat tire on your way home and so you didn't get to go home that weekend. But that was the reality, and so in college I felt really separated from everybody else. And what I learned, and what I'm still learning, is that that's emotional intelligence showing up. The ability to handle hardships, for life to happen, and to make a choice about how you handle it and how you move forward and how you tell that story, and it affects everything, okay? So, you're hearing a lot of my personal philosophy. I want you to form your own as we go through this, because the definition is broad. Can somebody read this out loud? Go for it.
The capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously,
Good job.
and empathetically.
The capacity to be aware of. There's your first verb. Control and express one's, meaning self, emotions. And to handle interpersonal, that means you and me, not just me knowing what's going on with me. Relationships judiciously, right? Do we know what that means? Like a judge, right? Fair, equitable, you're listening, you're not coming to a conclusion. And empathetically, I can hear, I might not understand, but I hear what you're expressing. There's value to how you're feeling, right? You might not totally get it, but you can empathize with that person. This is the definition, the working definition that we are using today of emotional intelligence. How many of you feel like you do the first part well? The one, the me. How many of you think you do the second part better? The interpersonal, listening, being attentive to other people. Okay, and how many of you feel like when you read this definition, you feel strong all the way around? Okay, we've got some, yeah, like 30 of you didn't raise your hands. Just kidding, because there's only 30 in here. Be brave, raise your hands today. A lot of this is introspection. You've got to do the work, and there's no right place. It's not good if you know you but nothing else. It's not good if you know it all. It's how you're living it out. But this is the working definition that I want us to go off of today. And you'll realize it takes understanding here and here, and whatever order you go in doesn't matter. Sometimes people are really great with the interpersonal, but they've got walls and walls and walls. And so you can listen all day. You're the person your friends go to, but who are you talking to? Who's holding you accountable? How are you managing your emotions externally, outside of your brain, where we tend to protect ourselves, right? We tend to pat ourselves on the back, like, it's okay that you're really disappointed by that. Just stay disappointed, keep it inside, and then it'll all get better. And then it doesn't. It boils and boils and boils, and suddenly you're shooting daggers at the person that disappointed you, and you don't even realize it because you didn't process it well, okay? So this is our working definition of emotional intelligence. And this grid, I think, is really helpful. There's a 4-quadrant model that pairs itself with emotional intelligence, okay? So I'm going to step back so that I can see it. Sorry, camera. So like we talked about, what's your self-awareness? And these are the questions that would correspond with that. What are you feeling? How do these feelings arise? And what information do they carry, okay? So this is like in a moment. Think about in a moment how you might be feeling about something. And then if you go to the other, this is with the other people, the interpersonal piece. What are they feeling? How did their feelings arise? Same thing in the bottom corner there. How do you want to feel, and what do you need to do to feel that way? And then we can just translate that to other people. How do you want them to feel, and what do you need to do in order for them to feel that way? Does this connect with that definition? Right, yeah, you can see exactly, kind of like Liz was talking about earlier. I know I can lead. I know that I do lead. But how do I tell that story to the Peace Corps? How do I let them in? And sometimes it's this, right? How many of you do this every day? You consider how you're feeling and why, or how someone else is feeling and why, and what you can do about it. Every day. Get those hands up high. There's got to be more than that. Yeah, every day. And that's the story, right? I was in this position for the student organization for 3 years. On my second year, they promoted me to president. As president, we raised $10,000, rebranded the whole organization, and took over the world. A new employer is going to be like, okay, and how did you lead them? And why did they promote you? And how do people follow when you lead? Right? Like, that's what they want to know. They don't care that you rebranded and took over the world and raised $10,000 and had every position in the organization in your 2-year tenure at the University of South Florida because you graduated 2 years early. Because now you're really exceptional, right? Now you're the best candidate in the pile. No, the best candidate in the pile might be the person that says, yeah, I met my neighbor in my apartment complex a couple weeks ago because they had a flat in the parking lot. And so I just offered to help them. I've got the stuff in my trunk, and they look like they were struggling. And as I'm helping this person with their tire, I'm getting his story. And his family lives in another country, and he works nights all around Tampa, just trying to make ends meet to send money back to his family. And so I've been making him meals. You know, I'm a college student, but I make a huge batch of rice every Sunday and throw chicken in and throw pork in and throw veggies in, and that's my meal all week. And so I've just been walking a Tupperware next door. And that's been really cool to get to know my neighbor and to meet somebody that I wouldn't have otherwise and to understand a context that's different than mine. How many of you felt something as I was telling you that story? Yeah. Versus the kid who took over the world and graduated 2 years early and earned the $10,000 and da-da-da-da. Right? Like, you felt it, and an employer's going to be like, he had an awareness that someone needed help, going back to the tire, right? He not only had an awareness, but he moved on it. Then when he moved on it, he was willing to listen. When he listened, he heard this man share his story. And rather than shaking his hand at the end of the night and saying, "It was really nice to meet you, good luck with your family," he said, "Hey, I make a big batch of rice with chicken or pork or veggies every Sunday. If I come and knock and bring you a Tupperware, would that be okay?" Whoa, whoa. Changes the scope of emotional intelligence. Changes the scope of what we think we need to do to be successful. I would argue. So that's really what this quadrant is looking like. So part of what I want you to take away from this presentation, and I'll be happy to email this to you or give it to Chris and he can send it out, is what are your answers to these questions? When you think about a challenging situation you faced in the last week, and you think about the answers to these questions for you and for the people involved, because how often are we in a tough situation that only has to do with us, right? More often than not, somebody else is involved. And this will give you a really good indicator of where you're at and the work that needs to be done. Not that you're good at this, or you're bad at this, or you're a total emotional intelligence failure, but that you know where your strengths and weaknesses are and you can go from there, because you're all gonna land in different points of this quadrant. Questions about this? Make sense? Yeah? Okay. So you're hearing me use really practical application, and I'm hoping that you're starting to put the pieces together of what this looks like, because it's all around us. It's like the most spoken language in our world. We just don't know about it. That's why my mom in Kansas would say, "Oh my gosh, you're making up some new term again? That's so great. You're so smart, Laura." Yeah, no, Mom, I'm not. This is a thing. And these are just some of the big conversations. I'm talking in the last 2 weeks. These entities are engaging with explicitly emotional intelligence, okay? Emotional intelligence. Why do you think the U.S. military would be talking about emotional intelligence?
Is there a huge leadership organization?
Okay, huge leadership organization. Yes.
They also deal with a lot of people, so going into different countries, they have to know how to deal with different characters, different characteristics.
Yes. Yeah, there's some stuff happening in our world right now. If you haven't been watching the news, some forces that we are coming against that are exhibiting a completely different sort of emotional intelligence, or a lack thereof, some might argue, that is relentless, that our military is trying to prepare for, right? Some pretty significant beheadings in the month of December. How do you prepare a military, the best in the world, to come against that? And recognizing that our soldiers in the United States on average are on their 4th or 5th deployment in the last 5 years and are under the age of 25. How do you equip young men and women to do that kind of work? And what's the indicator coming in that they can handle it? Right? It's like college. We use test scores, and as a college educator, my argument is get rid of the test scores and start figuring out this. I want the high school senior that has off-the-charts emotional intelligence, that has had the after-school job and has been tutoring, that's passionate about soccer, and they've made it to all their practices. Their test scores might not be awesome, but guess what? They're going to last 4 years at university, because they've figured out how to let stuff roll and how to go with the punches, and they know themselves at a level that their peers don't. So that's why the military might be interested. Why might Facebook be interested? Yeah.
That's a trick question. They're not.
That's not a trick question. They are very, emotional intelligence, I would argue, is Facebook's #1 focus area. Yeah, Asya.
I feel like so many people put their emotions on Facebook, so I feel like emotions is so much a part of Facebook that they want to know more about it and how they can relate to more people.
Mm-hmm. How many of you have like the freaky sidebar going on your Facebook? You're like, how'd you know I clicked on that on jcpennys.com? Or like, how'd you know I ate that yesterday? Right? Freaky sidebar. Tell me that that's not connected to emotional intelligence. When I told you that story earlier, you said you felt something. Do you think Facebook wants you to feel something? If you don't feel something, you wouldn't log in every 20 minutes, 30 minutes, twice a day, however often you're on it. right? If you didn't feel something, so they might not be managing the content, but they are desperately interested in making sure that your emotional intelligence is engaged, challenged, and that's what's going to keep you coming back. That's why more people in the world are using it as a platform than any other social media platform ever, right? Facebook is for sure interested, not a trick question. Love that though. What about school teachers? How many of you are in education or want to do something with teaching of any kind? Anyone? You brave souls? Join me. It's the best work you'll ever do. Why? Why would school teachers be interested? Yes.
Because they try to understand their students.
Okay.
And so emotional intelligence kind of helps them relate to them and things like that.
Yeah. So some relatability and just understanding their students. Why else might school teachers?
They're often teaching topics that a lot of people don't really have a lot of interest in, so they have to work to get the students engaged and want to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. Who had a class that you took that you were like, the teacher made that class? Yeah, absolutely. The teacher made that chemistry class. God, I hope we never take chemistry again, but I'll never forget Miss Seavey. Pretty much let me sit at her lab counter and like beg my way through that class junior year of high school. But I'll never forget her because she engaged me differently with the content that I would never have wanted to interact with otherwise. Why else might school teachers be interested in this? Yes?
They have to balance their emotions at home and in the classroom.
Oh, good. That's a neat perspective. So you're thinking about, you're giving all the time to all these people. What are you going to do at home? How are you going to take care of you? Yeah. Another reality is that this starts, like I said earlier, in kindergarten. And that ties in Yale. Yale right now, Yale has opened an Emotional Intelligence Institute. Okay? This is a thing. I am not crazy today. And, although I could just tell my mom, hey, Yale called. They're creating this institute. She'll be like, awesome. Can you stop living in a tiny house now? Yale opened an institute. Who do you think the institute is for?
Education professor?
Education professors?
Psychologist?
Psychologists?
Students?
What kind of students? College.
Education majors?
It's for kids. Tiny little people go to the Emotional Intelligence Institute. Literally, if you email me after this and you want more information, I will send you their like beautiful PDF. This is a school for children with educators where Yale is watching and measuring and proving every single time that a child that goes to an emotionally intelligence-focused classroom, meaning you're struggling with reading, you're in first grade, you're a little boy who's had all his recess taken away. How's that little boy likely going to respond when the teacher says you have to stay for 30 more minutes to work on reading? Pouting, crying, anger, avoiding,
Running away.
not wanting. Do you know how they manage that in the school? They like ask adult questions and they let them play through it. So he can have blocks in his hand. Talk to me about why you are angry. I can't get the words. He has blocks in his hands and he's playing through the emotions. And guess what? When he gets to the other side of it, where he has said why he's upset or he's acknowledged that he's upset, sometimes that's a bigger step. Right? Like we have to know we're angry before we can say why we're angry, before we can do anything about being angry. And usually adults don't even get to the phase one. We're just like, we're good. I'm about to explode, but I'm good. That wasn't upsetting at all. I'm totally cool. Right? And so for a 6-year-old to sit in a classroom and have a teacher be able to ask 3 questions while he's got Legos or he's got guys, and he can get it out with his hands, guess what? He's going to get back to the reading. He's going to be successful in that task. And these classrooms over and over and over again are out-achieving classes where it's like, just do it, or I'm going to punish you again. Just do it, or I'm going to punish you again. Just do it, or I'm going to hold you back a grade. And that's nothing against our educators in this room. My husband is a high school teacher. You do the hardest work possible in public secondary education, I think. It is so hard, and there are so many barriers against successful teaching. But what's that teacher supposed to do when nobody's saying, we value when you sit down and have that conversation with him? Because guess what? When he's 20, he's going to be able to say, why am I frustrated? What can I do about it? Here's what I'm going to do about it. Right? At 6, they're learning that. School is for little people. And so if you didn't go to school like that, because I didn't, we probably have work to do. But Yale is interested. NPR is interested for the same reason. Same reason.
What is it?
Yes. NPR, great. National Public Radio.
Oh.
If you don't listen to it, you should. I know it's like a little dorky, but seriously, you will learn things. You will learn awesome things, and it's like amazing. It's like a documentary. You know Serial, the whole thing that just happened with the podcast? Maybe you don't. Okay, look that up too. The radio is like a thing. It's like coming back. It's going to be like old school cool. Like my 19-year-old brother opened a record player for Christmas. This is like a thing now. You can buy them at Target for like $20 in pink and brown. Anyway, radio's coming back, people. It's coming back. And NPR, National Public Radio, is an outlet that's on it. They know what's going on, and many would say that they're an unbiased news, well, unbiased, right? News outlet, but that they try to really be vanilla when it comes to all the many thoughts of things happening in the world. And these are some of those articles. Most of these, they're hard to read, but most of these have been pulled in the last month. Like one I pulled yesterday. I think this one I pulled yesterday. The year emotional intelligence meets the customer experience. So this is the places you shop, the places you eat, the places that you, Apple, your technology. Everyone wants to know why you want what you want. Customer behavior is huge. They're interested in emotional intelligence. Why is it as important as the ABCs? That's the NPR article. You can go on there, you can listen to the radio through your computer, yeah. So I can send you that article and you can listen and hear them talk about classrooms and ABCs and 1, 2, 3s and how do you feel about this? Facebook knows you better than your best friends. This is yesterday. Okay? Facebook has research out as of last night it launched that literally they can prove that they know you better than your parents, than your best friend, by the likes that you give on that platform. Yeah, I was like, I'm going to shut down my account. I have to run my photo business, so I can't. But they are interested in your emotional intelligence and claiming that they know your emotional intelligence better than any human on the planet. That's really what that claim is. It's where the world is going. People be afraid or get on board. I channel my fear by reading stuff like this. I do. I'm like, okay, I can feel better because I'm like informed. And I'm not just being spied on or known by a robot on the back end of Facebook. And why you need emotional intelligence to succeed. January 13th, Business Insider. Arguably one of the best and brightest business publications in the United States. We're going across all fields of professional work. Why you need this to succeed. Are you bought in? Is this a thing? You believe me? I'm not making it up? It matters? Okay, all right. I just had to ground it in something more than like, I'm really excited about this. Because a lot of other people are too. Okay, so I'm going to jump to workplace engagement. Let's make this practical, okay? So I told you earlier, keep this broad if you need to. What does this look like in class? What does this look like with family? We have a problem in the United States about saying, yeah, I totally want to do this job. Hire me. And then getting hired and then hating life. Okay? So, Gallup. Gallup created Strengths Quest. How many of you have taken Strengths Quest? Okay, if you haven't, you should. It's like $10 and it'll be the best investment ever. And I will sit down and have individual coffees with you to process your Strengths Quest results. Because it matters to know what you're good at. Because all we do is tell the 6-year-old that you're not good at that. And you're not good at that, and you're not good at that, and you're not good at that. And then he's like, I'm going to fix it. I'll get better. I'll try harder. I'll sit here and read longer. Well, guess what? He's a scientist. And he doesn't want to read anymore. And he's going to read at the level that we expect him to read at, but he's a scientist. So why do we keep making him sit in the corner and read? That's what we do, though, right? How many of you have been forced into an extracurricular activity that you knew you were going to be terrible at? Trombone, ice skating, soccer, any sort of, yeah, give me some examples.
Football.
Football. Debate club.
Track.
Track. Like, I'm slow. I can't talk fast. I don't like getting hit. Right? Why am I here? Why am I here? But somebody said, you're going to do this. And you're like, I'm not going to do it. Or I'll try practices or how many run hurdle, I don't even know, I didn't do track. You know, how many whatevers, how many boxes full of files you could have possibly had to get ready for that debate. It's not your thing. And why do we focus on the fact that it's not your thing? We should be focusing on what your thing is, right? I say all the time, like, I'm so glad there's people in this world that are gifted at putting things together and thinking before they speak and all sorts of things that I don't have that much of, right? Because if the whole world was me, that would be a nightmare. The whole world was you or you or you. We need all these different people. It's what makes the world vibrant. And so when we think about workplace engagement, the biggest problem that I think we've encountered is that people have said, yeah, this is my box, I have this degree, I have these skills, you are offering me a good salary, it's convenient, it's in the city I want to live in, cool, I'm down. What am I doing? Is what quickly follows, okay? So Gallup went in and said, we focus on positive psychology, we focus on what people are good at, but we know there's an issue. So we're going to measure engagement. We're going to come up with 3 levels. We're not going to make it complicated. You either are engaged, you're kind of engaged, or you're not. And we're going to tell you what each of those mean, and we're going to give you a survey. And guess what? People are really honest about how they feel in their jobs. They're not maybe honest to their boss because we don't have the emotional intelligence to have that conversation. We're conflict avoiders. We don't have the language. But when it comes to an outsourced survey that asks you how you feel, oh yeah, people answer. And so they surveyed millions for this. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, it's been my experience. I've been in the workplace for 20 years, but in my experience, when I voice the way I feel, they don't like it.
Good feedback.
They really don't like it, even though it's presented in a way that is respectful.
Yep.
You know, to both sides, they don't like it.
Yep. So I think one of the hardest parts about emotional intelligence that I have learned as somebody who figured out I had rather high levels for developmentally where I was at, and then decided, okay, I'm not stalling. I'm not going to sit back and wait for my friends to catch up. I'm 21. I know what I'm doing. I know who I am, and I'm going for it. And if people need to have their messy lives, I have a messy life too. But mine looks a little different. I gotta let them do their thing, and I'm gonna do mine while still being respectful. What that does though is it sets you apart. Because people are not ready to have this conversation. People are not ready to speak this language. They're not ready to have the openness that comes with it, so that's one of the barriers. And within workplace engagement, something that they're seeing. So if we go in, can we just pause here for a second? Somebody read that statistic to me.
Gallup found that 13% of people are engaged at work.
13% equals 1 in 8. Me, not you, you, or you, but you, but not you, or you. That was 2 people in the middle of the room. 1 in 8. Does that number baffle anyone but me? How does it make you feel? Give me an emotion.
I'm not gonna like my job.
Okay, you're not gonna like your job.
What I'm doing might be a waste of time, and nobody else is engaged.
Okay? Yes.
I'll be bored, but my paycheck won't be.
Okay, interesting.
But I don't know what I actually want to do until I'm there, and then it's like, I'm stuck here.
Yes, yes, right here.
It was an incredibly large waste of movement and effort.
Yeah, just a waste. Just a waste. Katya.
I feel like it pushes me to want to find that job that fits me, that I'm going to love for the rest of my life.
Yeah, so it drives you. You're feeling some passion. Yeah.
In one word,
One word. Say it again.
I'm screwed.
You're screwed. That's 2 words. You're screwed. Yeah. So you're sharing, thank you for having hands. You're sharing, I'm hearing despair. Did you have your hand?
Yes, I think because you take the job because you need resources, resources, and maybe time to do whatever you want. Maybe you find out that you don't have enough money to do what you want all the time.
Right. Yeah, so it like becomes this wheel, right? We think, oh, well, I'll get this job, and then once I get it and I start earning, I'll be able to travel. Or I'll be able to have a family. Or we'll be able to buy a boat and be on the water every weekend because these are the things we love that we build in time for, and then suddenly it's like, there's no money for a boat. There's no time off for any sort of vacation except to Sarasota. And I had Italy in mind, or whatever your dreams are, right? So, okay, there's a lot of different reasons, but 1 in 8, that is not a dramatized number, that is the largest research that's ever been done on workplace engagement. So if we go in, this is how they define them. So engaged, it makes sense, but notice the first word. Psychologically committed. What does psychologically indicate in a person? Brain processing. Yeah. The brain. Not awesome skill set, super great degree from really awesome university, every internship ever. Like psychologically committed. Mentally, these people have said, I'm here and I'm staying. And I care about the work, and I'm going to care about it even when you don't care, even when you tell me that I shouldn't, even when you won't work on this project with me, I'm here and I'm committed. Okay? Not engaged. Big, big number here. A lot of people in the middle. I'm here, but whatever. How many of you know someone like that? You might have a parent like that. You know? Or have you met somebody that's like in their 40s or 50s and they don't want to do what they've been doing anymore, and so they're making a change? Yeah? Yeah, I know someone who was an accountant for her entire life. She's 56 years old, and last year she got her nursing degree. Because she couldn't stand that she wasn't helping people. It was totally disengaging her from the work. She was a talented accountant, she had all the credentialing for it, but she needed to be helping people, and it was literally taking away from her quality of life that she wasn't. And so she got to a place where she was just not engaged. She could crunch the numbers, she could file the reports, she could go through the process, but she was not engaged with the people or the process. And the most dangerous group here are the actively disengaged. Nearly a quarter of our workforce fall into this category, and they're actually doing harm. These are the people that are like, you shouldn't believe anything our boss says, or we've tried that 1,000,000 times, so we shouldn't do it again. And you're like, awesome, 1,000,000 times 20 years ago? Let's try it again, let's think differently about it. You have different people that can help you. These people are not productive and they spread negativity. And for people that don't have strong emotional intelligence, these people win. And I believe that's why the middle of the disengaged is so big. Because it only takes 1 or 2 actively disengaged people in an office, and it's like the flu. It just gets you. Because how long can you be like, we got this, I'm positive, I'm thinking about it, and they're just dragging you down, and you're like, fine, I'm just gonna sit at my desk and get paid. And do what I need to do and get out. That's most people I know. And I've been out of school 5 years. That is sad. That most people I know who have a brand new spanking bachelor's degree with brand new spanking experience would feel that way. Okay? Emotional intelligence plays into this. It's the language that's missing. It's the language that comes up because it's hard to have a high IQ in today's workplace. There's no space for it. There's no space to talk about your feelings. There's no space to talk about these things. Yet, if people aren't people, I say all the time, the day I get to supervise, when your dog gets sick, when you win a golf tournament, whatever the things are that you love, they don't have to be my values, but if they matter to you, they matter in this space and they matter with your time. So I'm not going to treat somebody whose dog is sick differently than somebody whose 5-year-old is sick. That is not my place. My place is to be an equitable supervisor who considers the emotions, values, lifestyles of all the different employees, and the second I start to prioritize or say, okay, that matters, that doesn't, we can talk about that, we can't talk about that, nobody feels like a human, right? And we're people, and we have emotions, and we have things that matter that go beyond work. And we have to be willing to not let that feel like a floodgate, and to just say, you're a person, you work in this space, I value all of you. Not just who you are on this project, not just who you are in this evaluation, not just who you are this year, but all of you. Okay? I'm not going to break down each of these individually because we kind of just did, but it's important to separate them and their differentiating definitions. So here's the gap for you guys. In the workplace, let's just focus there, though emotional intelligence has a lot to do with just our personal lives. Employers This is research that I was reading yesterday and today just to freshen up because I started writing this before the break. What you think you're ready for coming out of college, employers are saying, no, you're not. In general, that is a gross, researched assumption across employers right now in the United States and young, new, fresh, bright grads who have the ability to be the most actively engaged person in the task force if their emotional intelligence is in check. And what employers are saying is the energy's there, the credentialing is there, the education is there. You have a more dynamic and high-quality college education than anyone's ever been given before. Your bachelor's degree compared to someone's from 30 years ago is totally different. But if you don't go into that experience with your emotional intelligence in check, this is what's happening. They're saying, you think you're ready, but you're not meeting my levels of expectation, and the areas you think you're ready have nothing to do with what I value as an employer. And so that brings us here, what's missing? So just focus on the left. A willingness to start at the bottom. I'm just going to read these. If you feel uncomfortable, that's good. You should be like, oh gosh, I do not feel that way. Or, yeah, I can own that. Patience and tenacity. Submission to authority, sense of initiative, work ethic, responsibility, and conflict resolution skills. How many of you are getting a degree in any of those things? But that's what they want, right? And that's what it takes to be an engaged person, because you're going into a workforce that's going to pull you down. Maybe not your boss, maybe not the space you work in, but by nature of those statistics, wouldn't it be fair to say that the engaged people in any office, in any space in the United States that's working full-time is disengaged or actively disengaged? Over 80%. So you don't need to be scared. You don't need to worry about your passion or ending up in the wrong place, because there is no right place, right? Every place has its stuff. It's like every family. We all threw our stuff in the middle, you would grab yours back. You've heard that saying probably before. Yeah, it's the same way with work. When you meet up for happy hour with your friends that work other places, you're going to throw all your stuff in the middle, and then you're going to be scrambling with your sangria or whatever to get it back. But can you own these things? As you look at this board, can you own a willingness to start at the bottom? And you can see on the other side, what I've put is that most people coming into the workforce who are young professionals believe that they're entitled to a better job, and there are actually jobs that are beneath them. Well, aren't you fabulous? You should write a book and do a national tour and teach us all how to be so fabulous that at 23 years old with a 4-year degree, you figured it out and you have jobs that are beneath you. Because guess what? I do stuff every day that I don't want to do. I clean counters and I organize file paper. I'm getting my master's degree in May, and I've had hardly any pay increase since I started working in higher ed. And so if I put my eggs in that basket, I would have been gone 5 years ago, right? When I look for the workplace to give me the emotional that I need, it's not going to show up. So you better have your energy somewhere else that's going to keep you going. I can't read people. Yes.
But is the employer willing to let you grow? Because sometimes they want you to be at the bottom. And don't mind or allow you. So.
Yes. And you do have to be careful with all of this. There are such things as unhealthy work environments, as bad and unhealthy supervisors, okay? So I'm not saying stick it out and stay in there in the long run. I have worked for supervisors who affected my mental and physical health in tremendous ways by how they approached their work, and I needed to get out. I have left a job before without a job lined up because my boss was so toxic. Okay? Yes.
I just did it.
Yeah.
I just did it too.
You're in it. You just did it.
I just did it as well because I felt that it was beneath me, and I know it was.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things that I feel that you have the option to set aside what you want to put your time for, and if you don't think a job is worth your time, then find a different one.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to stay there.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's different than I'm in the job, or I've applied for the job, or I've pursued the job, and now you're asking me to do this thing, and that's beneath me. That's different. You're saying, I knew that I could do more than what that person was ever going to allow me to do. It's the ceiling. right? If somebody smacks the ceiling right on your head and you're like, I know that I can get past the stinking ceiling, get past it. And if that person is not going to let you get past it, get out, right? That's also part of emotional intelligence. But there isn't a level of accountability, so I always say to myself, when I worked for that horrible boss, who I not walked out, I gave my 2 weeks notice, I did everything you should have done, but I left without anything lined up. I went through this list. Have I submitted to her even though I don't agree with her leadership? Have I gone above and beyond in this job? Have I washed the windows and scrubbed the floors? Literally. Bachelor's degree, out of college, volunteer coordinator, nonprofit, not a nothing job. And I made myself go through this list, and when I went through this list and I said, I've tried, I think I did, and there was nothing, then that's my EQ check. Protect yourself. Get out, right? EQ, just like our body's ability to handle when we don't get enough to eat or when we don't get enough water, our emotional intelligence must be protected. And it has natural barriers. That's why stress influences our blood pressure, right? There's a reason that biological processes affect what's happening inside of us. And so this is where I want to leave you with a toolbox, like I said at the beginning. And I'm not going to be able to go through them all, but I want you to start here. So some of you expressed some negative emotions as we were walking through this presentation, or that as we were talking through things, it was making you feel negative, either about an external thing or about yourself. There's ways to combat this. I want you to think about widening your perspective. That's probably the biggest takeaway from negative emotions. This sounds really cliche. Temperature of cool affects stress. Cold water, cold washcloth on your face, cold air, cold wind as you walk around. Don't put caffeine in your system when you have a bad day. It increases anxiety. Okay? We are the most highly anxious, on paper, measured society right now. Over-medicated. It's intense because Facebook thinks it knows us better than our families. We're all freaking out. But really, this is a big thing. Get your body in motion and stay cool when you get stressed. And then I want you to leave with this in your Post-it notes. I feel X when you Y in Z situation. I feel frustrated when you leave the dishes in the sink after I've unloaded the dishwasher. Insert roommate, insert partner, insert parent, sibling. That's different than you left the dishes for the 5th time in a row. I always unload the dishwasher. You never do it. You're not thinking about me. You're so sloppy. I can't do this anymore. Whoa, that feels totally different, right? Both for the person saying it and the person processing it. So I want you to take that sentence, and as you're thinking about your emotional intelligence, that's a really basic way. Practice that by 5 o'clock today. When was the last time you told somebody how you felt about something in a certain situation? It might have been a while. It's hard to do. It's hard to do well, like Deb was saying earlier. So I want you to do that. And as you walk out the door with your Post-it notes, you have 5 Post-it notes, okay? You articulated the traits of somebody that you greatly admire, look up to, are mentored by. And I want you tonight, give yourself some time to let this all go. Pull those Post-it notes out. And I want you to write, is this IQ? Like this person is smart and this trait indicates that? Is this EQ? They care, they listen, they're there, they're steadfast, they get it? Or is it a technical skill? And I would wager to say that over half of your Post-it notes are going to represent an emotional intelligence trait that this person who you greatly admire has mastered. That tells me 2 things. 1, it matters. Emotional intelligence is what makes the world go round. It's what makes the difference. And 2, you have an expert in your field, in your world. Go to them. Have them teach you how they do that well, and you will go super far. I'm going to let you go. I have cards, books, come chat. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura. If you're heading out, don't forget to get a little punch with your little card. And thanks. You can leave them up here. Leave the surveys up front.
Hey. Yes, I will send
No,
you.
yeah.
Nice to
There's not really a certain process for the entire process, like the whole workshop series. You just are taking to every workshop, and then they happen every Thursday from 12:30 to 1:30 in January, February, next week.
Oh.
So we'll advertise for one next week. You just visit Folsom.
I want to.
So did you sign up? So when you come in, make sure that you sign in at the front there, your card swipe, and usually there's someone sitting there. And that's what I'll use to order you for any board. So your ID, I'll sign you.
It's due tomorrow. Yeah.
Just a bachelor's.
Do you know it's office is
I want to be a digital animator.
Yes,
Oh yeah. I just want something to do to learn how to do that stuff.
Wonderful. All right, thank you. And so,
You know the movies like
yeah, if you search Source Quest
and Madagascar.
you'll have a food website, and so you take it and then you can make meetings. If you're involved in CLCE, they do a lot of fun. I mean, yeah, but you're not over.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
And you want to access it, email
With the
it,
computer animation.
copy, and also
Yeah.
expand your site.
I want to do that.
Yeah, take a card, please. Nice to meet you. Yes, take care. Hey, Dallas, nice to meet you. Yes, please, absolutely. There, that's me. Thanks for joining the conversation. I don't know, this is my first time they asked me, and I've never talked about this publicly before, I just have all these thoughts in my head, so if it was any good, maybe they'll bring me back.
Yeah, I was gonna say possible.
Yeah, I do, I can pretty much present on anything, so I love public speaking. I'm a former Disney cast member, so I do a pretty awesome customer service, leading in your own thing. I've done it for 4,000 college students in the last 5 years, so that's a big one that I do. I'm trying to think of, yeah, strengths, or the idea of capitalizing on your strengths and leadership and what that looks like is another one. But Chris threw this topic to me and I just said, I'll go for it, so. Yeah, absolutely, thanks Dallas, keep in touch, please. I love speaking, I need it. I'm an advisor, so all the one-on-one. Yes, thanks Barbara, I hope it was good. Take a card, yes, please, keep in touch, keep in touch.
I've done like the Gallup Strengths Test for KU when I went in the fall. So I haven't really looked at it since.
Okay.
We like talked about something like that, and like I did a presentation on intelligence in general for my senior exit.
Very cool.
So like I touched on the emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
This is like over the top because like I had to realize.
So not everyone
Kinda like
will
the
be,
more
but if
basics
you would
of
like
that.
for me
Sure.
to, let me know, reach out.
Big thing.
Radio and like this class.
Yeah, I'm gonna send Chris the Prezi and the links to all the articles I referred to, so he'll just zip it to you guys so you have it, so you can get on the NPR website and read all of it. Reach out if you wanna have a strength growth coffee. I am like passionate and I feel like a lot of people take it